Welcome back to the PreVetted Podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Today, we're joined by Mikael Trollsas, co-founder and CEO of Resurge Therapeutics, a company pioneering a new approach of treating benign prostatic hyperplasia through intraprostatic drug elution therapy. He has over 25 years of leadership in medical devices and drug delivery. Mikael has worked across the full spectrum of innovation, spanning concept design, clinical trials, product launches, and strategic growth. His career includes senior R&D roles at Abbott Vascular, TriSalus Life Sciences, and CapsoVision. Oh, wow, so many names. Where he led in the development of breakthrough technologies from vascular devices to colon capsule endoscopy. Now at Resurge, he's driving a vision to transform how he treats prostate disease, improving outcomes while reducing the burden of invasive surgery. So, Mikael, it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you, Federico. Great. It's great to be here. So really appreciate you inviting me. So looking forward to the discussion.
Great. So, tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Resurge Therapeutics.
Yeah, so Resurge Therapeutics is a urology drug biotech company. We are developing a treatment for or a therapy for treating enlarged prostates, also known as benign prostatic hyperplasia. This is a disease or something that happens to men as we grow older. I guess about 60% of all men over 50 are impacted by an enlarged prostate and having symptoms, lower urinary tract symptoms called LUTs, where they have to void more frequently, and it really impacts your life, in particular when you have frequent nocturnal voiding, which means your sleep pattern is destroyed, and you basically mainly focusing on emptying your bladder. So and this increases with age. So when you get up to about the age of 70, maybe 90% of all men are affected. In the US alone, about 40 million men have symptoms of BPH, and about 12 million men every year are treated for BPH. Having said that, there are a number of different ways to treat it. The most common one is oral drugs, which have very limited efficacy. They help you initially, but not long-term, but they also come with significant side effects. And some of the side effects that most men don't like are sexual dysfunction, it's cardiovascular, so it depends on which drug you choose. Or you can go, as the disease progresses, into more invasive treatment, which is typically surgical, which comes with complications, post-procedure complications, and risk for catheters, and most importantly, relatively large risk of sexual dysfunction as well. So people are procrastinating. They choose to not do those more invasive treatments. So we had this idea that we could do something more unique. We had worked in the field of cardiovascular disease, developing certain types of drugs, cytotoxic antiproliferative drugs that we deliver right into the vasculature. We thought the disease here have similar cell structures, so we thought, can we develop a therapy by using these drugs and deliver them right into the prostate that would create what's called tissue atrophy in the prostate, relieving the pressure on the urethra, opening up, allowing voiding easier, and do it in a very smooth, pain-free fashion. So I think I'll stop there, but we have some very exciting clinical data now, which shows that what we were thinking is actually working very well. We've treated 31 patients so far, and outcome is pretty amazing.
Wow. I mean, it's I think it is something that I'm 40 years old, and I started doing the the test for the prostate, right?
Right, for prostate cancer. Yeah, the
Yes.
PSA test.
Yes. And because, I got the feedback of, after 40, you have to start watching that number, right? But I understand that a lot of people don't pay much attention to prostate, right? Until it's already too late.
I mean, I guess most people don't really think about that they have a prostate until it's, you get up to date. So I guess if you're 40 and you think about it, that's probably earlier than most men. Most people probably get aware of it around the age of 50. I mean,
Right.
and I mean, usually it's because of poor voiding, which or you take your PSA test and you realize that it's increasing too quickly, the numbers.
Right. And so it's I can see how that can,
so this is
decrease
not
the quality of life.
what we're doing. Is I just want to, it's not prostate cancer. We believe we can use our therapy to treat localized prostate cancer that has not metastasized yet, but really we're focusing on a benign disease where the prostate grow in size, same way as the ears and the nose keep growing on men. As we grow older, the prostate grows, and as it grows, it squeezes the urethra, which leads to problems, in particular voiding problems, but also sexual functions. And then as you take the drugs, then you end up with problems, sexual dysfunction, in particular, maybe retrograde ejaculation. But yeah, it's not this. I mean, it's common, and I guess as we grow older, more and more men are affected. So it's a huge problem. Worldwide, I guess it's estimated that the treatment or some, the costs are about between 15 and 25 billion US dollars.
Right. So the it's not inflammation. It's basically enlargement naturally, as you mentioned, similar to the hair and the ears, right?
I mean, it's a proliferation of cells, different type of cells in the prostate gland. Smooth muscle cells is one type of cells that keep proliferating, and the more cells you have, obviously the bigger the prostate gets. So normal prostate should be this kind of the size of maybe a walnut, and then it can grow up to the size of a tennis ball or even significantly larger. 25, usually say a healthy prostate is somewhere in the range of 25 grams or smaller, and then, it can grow up to a few hundred grams, but obviously symptoms occur much sooner for relatively small. So most men usually have a prostate gland size, I would say, between 30 and 80 grams, and they have symptoms that needs to be addressed. And it's important to address them because the bladder, if you have resistance, the bladder has to work harder, and as you work harder, you're going to damage your bladder and you're going to damage your kidneys, and both of those organs are difficult to heal once they damaged.
Right. I see. And the and then you also mentioned that the quality of life is affected by having to getting the sleep interrupted by having to go to a bathroom.
I mean, you will see that as you get more aware of this, and my wife is now aware of it because I work in this field, and so you see if you go on an airplane that it's typically the men over 50 that goes up to the bathroom multiple times. If you go to a restaurant, you see it's the men that usually keep going, leaving the table a few times, and it's most likely because they have issues with their prostate.
Right. So if men that are hearing are going frequently to the bathroom, they should check their size of the prostate, right?
I mean, if that becomes a problem, I think, I'm not the medical doctor, so I'm not going to give any advice on when you're going to seek treatment or seek but I think any man, that gets to the age above 40, 45 should probably do, the PSA test. That's just my non-medical opinion. I've seen too many men, and I guess as you do that, you may also get some feedback on whether you have a growing prostate and whether there's a need to treat the symptoms that's affected by BPH or created by BPH.
Right.
And really, I think most men. I recently went to New Zealand where we treated a patient, and we had one patient coming back for his 1 year follow up, and we usually take a testimonial at the 1 year where we interview the patient. So I was thanking the patient for participating in the study and for taking the time to sit down and talk to me for 15 minutes. And he said, it's not you that should thank me. I'm the one that should thank you for giving me my life back. After the treatment, he used to be up going to the bathroom 6-7 times per night, not being able to sleep, and then having a horrible day. And now he was down to 1, and maybe some nights he was up twice. So he said now he can sleep, and now he has his days back thanks to the treatment that we had allowed him to do. So that was an amazing feeling and great experience. I think that's why we're involved in this field, because we want to help people.
Right. You can literally change their lives.
Right. So, we didn't save his life, but we gave him basically his life back. He's now sleeping well. He's now having a great life. And the procedure that we're doing is a very quick procedure. You do it in an office setting. So it takes about 10 minutes. You get a local block, and then we do the injection. Takes 10-15 minutes. And then you leave. You have no post-procedure pain. You have no post-procedure complications. You leave, you go home, you can go out and play golf or play tennis the next day, can go to work. You don't need to take any time off. There's no post-procedure catheterization that you need to be concerned with, which, all of these other methods that have been developed over the years, they result in post-procedure complications. Obviously it can also lead to sexual dysfunction long-term, but the post-procedure complications. So our patient go home and they have, so we had one patient, he rode his motorcycle home immediately after the procedure. Another patient asked the doctor, can I go to the pub tonight? And the doctor said, of course, yes, go. And he went to the pub the same night. So
interesting.
So it's exciting. So we've done the procedures at 5 different sites in Australia, New Zealand, and in the Dominican Republic, and we see very similar results at all different sites, and patients are very happy. It's easy for the doctors to learn how to do the procedure. It's a quick procedure, and it's a pain-free procedure. You can compare it maybe to a LASIK procedure for eye. You can get rid of your glasses, and you do a one-time procedure. So this is a one-time treatment. We have 1 year follow-up data. We believe, and that 1 year looks amazing. Patients are doing great. We believe that the treatment will hold up for. Obviously the prostate's going to continue to grow as well. Our drug is actually inhibit that growth, so it's delaying the growth as well. If you do all other procedures, you open up the urethra, but the prostate continue to grow. But the drug that we're delivering actually inhibit the growth of the prostate as well. So we believe that we will have data, beyond 6-7 years, similar to other ablation therapies that are very invasive. But we do that same ablation, but we do it very slowly with the drug that we're injecting. We're creating what's called atrophy, and that atrophy allows the prostate to remodel and for basically the urine to find an easy way out of the bladder.
Right. So this would this procedure also be beneficial before people are presenting the symptoms, or should they wait until they get the symptoms to do this type of treatment?
I mean, it's a great question. I would guess that you wait because you don't know if you're going to get symptoms. So, but we believe that this is will become like a first line therapy in the future, where you basically, once you have symptoms, even if they're milder, you can do this versus taking an oral drug. An oral drug gives you side effects. They're not very efficacious. So instead of doing that, you do what we call this procedure. We call it IPDE, intraprostatic drug elution. Again, compare it to a LASIK procedure. You do it one time, and you find instead of taking on your glasses every day, you're having the issues of daily compliance, taking a drug. And you obviously men that are in that age 60, over 50, 60, 70, taking multiple other drugs. So it's probably good to put one drug to the side and focus on a one-time treatment.
Right. Where is this treatment available? You mentioned Australia, you mentioned Costa Rica, right?
So we have we're doing it in we have two studies approved. One study which we have actually stopped enrolling is in Australia, New Zealand. We do it we have been doing the enrollment at 4 different sites. 3 sites in Australia, 1 site in New Zealand, and we're currently enrolling patient in the Dominican Republic. We're working with a fantastic doctor there. She's amazing, extremely well organized, and she has a great team surrounding her. So, but we're also now working with the FDA to set up a U.S. clinical study. So, plan is to enroll about 100 patients in the U.S. And abroad in that larger study, where we will compare the study to a control.
Right. Yes, I was going to ask you about the challenges to go through the FDA approval, right? As I understand, is one of the most difficult approvals to get worldwide.
I mean, first you need to get an approval to do your clinical studies in the US. So that's what we're trying to do. Usually what you do a phase 2. This is a drug, and you can do medical devices and you can do drugs. Some of these things are combination products, drug device products. It's usually regulated by what's called the primary mode of action. Is it device that do something, or is it the drug? So, I mean, we believe we have a drug here. The primary mode of action is a drug, and that opens up creates the atrophy in the prostate and open up the urethra that way after remodeling. So this is a drug pathway. We're using a well-known drug that we have reformulated and repurposed for this particular indication, and so that has a unique regulatory pathway in the US, which we're choosing, but we will do what's called a phase 2B study, and then we'll do the phase 3. We will have some conversations with the FDA about the fastest pathway. So we have just submitted our what's called a pre-IND package, and we're waiting to hear back from them. So it will be exciting to discuss it with the FDA and take it to the next level, and then eventually, once we have all the clinical data, we will submit it for a regulatory approval and the opportunity to market the product in the US.
Right.
And we will start with the US. That's our target. Eventually, we will take it worldwide, but initially we'll take it to the US patients.
Right. Yeah, I understand that the US market is much bigger and interesting, right? So I understand you have you have authored over 100 patents, right? How do you balance innovation and going through the regulatory processes?
I mean, I think you have to be pragmatic when you do all of these things. And, I think together with my co-founders, John Stankus and Dr. Sharam Gulami, I think we have a great team. We don't want to be overly creative. It's about finding a pathway forward that you believe it's going to be. So John and I have a long history working together. We worked for over 20 years together. We got to know each other when we worked at a company called Guidant in the interventional cardiology space, developing drug-eluting stents, drug-coated balloons, initially for indications in the coronaries in the heart, and then later for peripheral vascular indications. We also worked on a very interesting project in treating hypertension with renal denervation, and we felt we were very pragmatic in solving problems. Obviously, you need to protect your ideas as well, and find creative ways of doing that, creating intellectual property, patents, create defense around your. But once you have it, you have to find a free way and kind of go forward as quickly as you can, and then obviously iterate as much. Take the feedback from everyone involved, in particular, obviously, the treating physicians, the patients, and make sure that the product is manufacturable and user friendly. So and that it can be marketed and be eventually be reimbursed as well. And because obviously, if no one is paying for it, you're not going to be able to make a product going forward. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I come from from the software industry where there are much less regulations. It's more of a break things kind of approach. So I find all the regulations that are in the medical industry overwhelming, right? Although I work on HIPAA compliant projects, so I have some experience on that industry on the software side, right? But you don't need a degree to become a software engineer, right? Because the assumption is, well, you're writing code, you're writing software, and that software, there are no risks. You don't have. You're not putting life at risk, right? That's the assumption. But when you start building software, if you build it wrong, depending on the product, you could get people in trouble, right? Or you could lose money for users. So there is a risk involved there, right? But the assumption is that it's not. So there are very few regulations, right? So I understand the idea of regulations to keep people safe, but I think that also that affects innovation, right?
Yeah, I mean, different countries have different ways of doing this, and I believe obviously regulations here are very important. But I guess at the end of the day, we want to make sure that patients are safe. So, I mean, in this case, we injecting a drug into the prostate. We did what's called a dose escalation study. We started with a low dose, and then we went to a higher dose and make sure we find a dose that's tolerable for the patient, that we don't have any dose limiting toxicity, or that the drug is going. Obviously, I said with creating atrophy, that we have picked a drug that stays in the prostate. It doesn't go anywhere else and create harm or damage any other organs. And so we had demonstrated that before we went into humans, and then we carefully selected a dose where we gave a low dose. We waited for a certain period of time, made sure we're not hurting anyone, and then we went to the next dose and we saw the results that we wanted, and once we didn't see any issues, we kept expanding what's called the cohort of patients to more patients. So you're just careful and taking the steps that's necessary to make sure that the product is safe, and then you make sure you have some things that you call anticipated observations. So if you deliver, let's say, something with a needle, there may be some pain around the area where you inject the needle for a short time. There may be some side effects from if you give if you put in a urinary catheter, it may be some pain for a day or so, or those are kind of anticipated observations, and then you have what's called adverse events, and those are things that you didn't anticipate, but they can be very mild as well. And then you have severe adverse events that you definitely want to avoid. You don't want to create those type of things. So you record all of those things, and you make sure you understand what's happening to the patient, and make sure the product is safe. And at the same time, you measure all the outcome that you're looking for. The symptom scores, and usually what's regulatory bodies are looking for is our symptom score. It's called the International Prostate Symptom Score, which is basically 7 different questions that patients are asked, and they can be responded 1 to 5. So you can have a score 7 questions times 5, which is 35, which is the worst case. That patient is typically very sick, and you can have only 1, which is a younger, healthier man probably in his 20s or early 30s, and then as you get up to your 50s, those numbers are going up. So usually we start with most of the men that we treated have what's called severe IPSS score, which is a score over 19. After the treatment at 360 days, all of the patients that we have treated actually have what's called a mild and normal a score below 8. So we're really seeing a huge difference over time with this therapy. It's actually pretty amazing. And we also we measure the uroflow, the flow of urine, and what's called the residual volume in the bladder, how much urine that has not been voided, and you kind of put all of these data together to see if your therapy is efficacious and do what the patients need. But the big driver is really the symptom scores, what patients feel themselves, which is somewhat subjective. So you have to make sure eventually that you do a control study versus a control or a sham control or whatever you choose to do.
Right.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, so you need a minimal threshold of international prostate score, so people that have enough symptom would make sense for them to go through the treatment, right? And then you measure after the treatment if that score went down, right?
Correct. And you do that as a functional time. So you follow up, we have the patient, we call the patient on day 1, we call the patient on day 7. We have the patient coming in 30 days after treatment. We have the patient coming in 90 days after treatment. We have the patient coming in 180 days after treatment. And then we have them coming in at 1 year and 2 years. So these patients that we're treating are actually getting the best medical care that you can ask for.
Very interesting. So when are you planning for this treatment to be available for the general public in the US? Do you have a timeline, or you still?
Of course, we have a timeline. Yeah, so we believe we will have completed all clinical studies. Everything goes the way we want it. We will complete all the clinical trials by 2029, which is about 4 years out. and then it takes probably about a year to get the approval. So sometime in 2030 we should have. So about 5 years from now, we hope to have this product in the US market.
I'm blown away by how long it takes for this process to go through, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I could give you a number that's much faster and much sexier, but I want to be, I like to be transparent and clear, and I think at the end of the day, we're looking for investors that understands what it takes to develop this. We're looking for corporate partners that understand this field, but we also believe that we have a product that's more, there's a lot of development. So this is a huge market. I mentioned 40 million men in the US alone. Worldwide, it's a much bigger market. And what we have a product that can be delivered easily in office setting. So it can be delivered anywhere, whether you live in a more rural community in China or in a rural community in India. You can do it, or you can, if you live in Africa. Many of these countries have challenges to deliver this kind of healthcare or provide a treatment for enlarged prostate because they don't have the infrastructure needed, but our therapy can be easily delivered in an office setting. So we think it's going to be easily available for everyone. So we believe we have reduced the risks down to almost nothing. So it's about getting the right partners and someone that really wants to help us taking this to that huge market opportunity worldwide. I think there's quite a few companies that are interested to partner with us. Obviously, we hope that there are enough capital to take this all the way through to the market as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm blown away is because I'm not from the industry, so I'm not familiar with the timings, right? And as I mentioned, in the software industry, I'm more used to shorter cycles where we can build something and launch it in months, right? And see how it works, right? But again, with no regulation, it's easy to do that, right?
I mean, obviously, that's why it's easier. If you have an AI software or something, or an AI chip, which obviously takes time to build the infrastructure to actually manufacture it as well. But obviously, that's why you see more investment right now into that field than to the biotech and life sciences, because it's high risk, relatively long timeline. So. It is a challenge in this field, but you do something. I think what you do here is you do something that's really meaningful. You're helping patients, you're helping people with their lives, and so I think a lot of people that made a lot of money in the tech industry, software industry, are later say, okay, I want to do something different and support life sciences and biotech as well.
Right. Yeah, and I admire, your dedication to a project that is going to take so many years to get through, right? So
yeah, I mean, obviously, it can be frustrating for a young engineer, for a young scientist, for a young person that's involved in this field. That it takes time. If you're lucky, you get on a product that's going to go all the way from concept through early testing into clinical, and then eventually get it to the market and be part of that whole process on your first attempt. I think most people in this field are working on the different stages at different time, and get that overall experience through different products and concepts.
Right. Talking about the younger researchers and innovators, what advice would you give them that if they want to enter into the biotech and medical research industry?
No, I think be curious, follow your heart, do what you think is good, but be curious. Try to go out and learn as much as you can in the field. Observe, clinical practice. You can have all these great ideas in a lab, but if you don't go out and talk to a physician and see how physicians are working, then it's hard to learn. So I believe heavily in that model that you learn the processes and understand what's working well and what's not working well, and then you go back into the lab or to the drawing table and try to design a product. But yeah, you have to be creative. You have to listen to feedback. You have to take all the feedback from everyone, left and right, and sometimes that can be challenging. But listen, and be curious. I think is my 2 cents.
Amazing. Yeah, as I said, I admire all the effort that you're putting into this project, right? That it's going to take many years to go through, and that is also changing people's lives, right? So I think that's admirable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also think obviously if you come with a solid technical background, whatever it may be, that helps yourself to build some confidence. Whether what you do makes sense or not. So there are many pieces to the equation, but yeah, we hope this is something that's going to be exciting for a lot of patients, and that we can treat patients and we can help patients and make initially an impact through clinical trials, and then eventually on the market, first in the US and then hopefully worldwide.
Right. So after going to the US market, do you have a timeline for going worldwide?
No, I think we have a timeline to get this product to the market. Obviously, eventually we will start to work on that, but I think the focus right now is to raise the capital that we need to take this through the controlled clinical studies, to get this to clinical sites in the US. I think that's the huge value inflection. If we can't take it through that, then it's going to be hard to move on. So we need to look in the short term and make sure we obviously have a big picture, but initially it's majority of our focus right now is to raise that capital and having discussions with the FDA about what those clinical studies will look like, and also continue to make sure that we can enroll patients in our ongoing studies, and that data is entered correctly, and we build up a strong database of successes.
Right. You mentioned you're looking for investors. How are you convincing investors to invest in this project?
Oh, and you tell me, have I convinced you that we have a good product or not? I mean, it's similar. I guess the story is similar. I think the data speaks for itself. There are always certain risks with programs. I think all the physicians that we have used 6 different physicians so far. They have learned this procedure very quickly. They all like it. We're talking to the patients. We have patients' testimonials, like I mentioned, the 1-year follow-up, and they love it. And so I think there are 7 or 8 large companies in the space of BPH from a device perspective, and then you have historically these drugs, alpha blockers, and what's called 5-ARIs. There's large, most of those drugs, if not all of them, are now generic, but the multi-billion-dollar revenues for these companies. And very much like maybe the weight loss drugs. That was an area that maybe pharma didn't really go after until it was demonstrated by Novo Nordisk and more recently Eli Lilly that this is working. I'm looking at this space here. This is a huge market opportunity for investors, whether it's venture capitalists or strategic partners to invest in and get a really good return on investment with huge value inflection. But yeah, obviously, we'll talk about this half a year from now and see if we've been successful.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I'm convinced on the quality of the product, and I think you guys have a lot of potential, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hear more news about you reaching the next milestone.
I'll be happy to share it. I'm convinced that whoever decides to work on us will be successful. We have an amazing team. We have a small team, but extremely pragmatic, experienced, and obviously we increasing the size of it as we go to the next stages. But I think we have an amazing future here and we want to work with very strong partners.
Great. Yeah, I think it's very interesting product, and I think it's going to have a lot of impact on the people's quality of life, right? I think we were talking before camera, right? For me, it's not about years, how many years you live. It's about how many years of quality life you have, right?
I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's a philosophical question, but yeah, right. I mean, obviously, if you're lucky, you can live a long life. If you're unlucky, your life will be cut short. But I think, sometimes it's easy to forget to enjoy every day and do what you think is meaningful. But I guess as you get older, you kind of realize, okay, it really matters what, the days that you did something that was more meaningful, whether it was just hanging out with family or whatever you did, but do something that means something to you, and enjoy it as much as you can.
Completely agree. Yes. So we're running out of time. Do you want to share some final remarks before we wrap it up?
I mean, I think I really enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed the opportunity to discuss this, and I look forward to taking the next steps here, and anyone that wants to get in contact with us and learn more, we have a website, we're on LinkedIn, we'll be at all the big meetings at AUA, the Society of Benign Prostatic Disease, and so on. But yeah, we look forward to treat patients very soon in the US, and obviously anyone that wants to be involved in any way, learn or just learn more, please reach out to us on our website, resurgetherapeutics.com. So thanks again for your time, and look forward to chatting more in the future.
Great. We'll share the links at the note of the episode, so people can reach out, and I'm going to follow up what you are doing and your progress, because I think what you're doing is amazing and it's going to change people's life, right?
Great.
And thank you, Michael, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay.